All right, welcome everyone to our Career Journeys. Career Journey is an effort from the Alumni Career Services and our Young Alumni Council. And we have so many amazing alumni who do fantastic things, and we never get enough time with that. So we're always hearing about these incredible stories and these windy journeys of how people have figured out what they're doing and what they're doing now. And so this is our tribute and our chance to just pause for a little bit and spend some time and discuss that. This is going to be an audio file that we're preparing for a podcast, and that way we can meet people's needs and you can be listening wherever is convenient for you. I'm going to introduce our host, which is Geraldine Fernandez. Geraldine is one of our Young Alumni Council members and the leader of the career committee, and has been connecting with a variety of different alumni, including Vanessa García Polanco, who is our guest today. I'm going to turn it over to Geraldine.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Audra, for that introduction. I'm super excited to be here and to introduce Vanessa to you guys. So Vanessa, like I always advocated, has been such an awesome advocate for agriculture. And then I'm gonna let her tell you a little bit about herself. So Vanessa, feel free to chat with us and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Geraldine, and thank you, Audra, for having me. It's a pleasure to give back to URI, the community that gave me so much. So hello, everyone. My name is Vanessa García Polanco. I am an immigrant. That's really important to my identity. I'm a Dominican immigrant. I migrated here 10 years ago, and I arrived to North Providence, Rhode Island. And after finishing high school here, I went to the University of Rhode Island, where I did my undergrad on environmental and natural resource economics, sustainable agriculture, hunger studies, and leadership studies minors. In IURI, I was really involved in Student Senate and the Sustainability Club, where I was the president. I was involved with a program called URI Cooperative Extension. That, if you don't know it, it's okay. It's a really important arm of the university that is actually replicating every university that is a land grant institution across the country. And the mission is to do outreach and share the scientific-based resources that the university has with farmers and residents and other green industry professionals across Rhode Island. So I did that for most of my time at URI, and it was really fun, and that helped me solidify that I really like a career where I get to interact with environment, where I get to interact with agriculture and people working to make the work a little better, especially when we talk about conserving our natural resources and fighting climate change. But I was also interested in policy, so I was trying to try to get more fruits and vegetables that were local in the URI dining hall. And I was working with farmers markets and farmers across Rhode Island. And I got to serve on the Rhode Island Food Policy Council as the youngest person. So that was really fun activities, but I still wanted more policy experience. And that led me to do internships in DC, working for the Department of Interior and the Department of Agriculture. And after that, I went to get my master's at Michigan State University. And a year ago, I joined the National Young Farmers Coalition. I'm now under Federal Policy Director, where I manage all our federal advocacy activities on behalf of young farmers nationwide to Congress and federal agencies.
Amazing. Oh my God. So, which previous work experience would you say helped you guide you more specific through that route? And then can you elaborate about the difference between like an agriculture, like you were just mentioning, like policy versus like the agriculture sector? Like how do they interject with each other?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say my favorite experience was definitely URI Cooperative Extension. URI Cooperative Extension is a program under the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, SALS. And what is really cool is that this program is nationwide. Every state has one that receives federal and state funding and university funding to do programmatic activities. But the way this is done in Rhode Island is so unique because we are traditionally a land grant, so a university that does agricultural research, but because of transitions and changes, we haven't done a lot of that. So for me, it was really interesting to be at that intersection where we're trying to reclaim and do agricultural things, trying to do more horticultural education, environmental education, especially in urban areas, into residents instead of farmers, like how others do. So it was an opportunity for me to learn about state funding, state resources, federal resources coming from DC, me having to file federal reports about how we were using money, and also reporting back to the college, to the university, and to so many other stakeholders and donors that fund this project, that it made me really excited about being in this ecosystem of so many opportunities, so many things and venues to do. And what a lot of people always say, I always ask people, what do you think I do for a living? And according to my grandma, I look at plants the whole day, which I wish, because that's not true. I look at politicians the whole day. So I think what a lot of people don't understand is like the way we eat, the way our stores are filled, the way our supermarkets are located, and many other things that we think about food and agriculture that we see every day, we don't think those are related to government or policy. But the way we eat is a culmination of many decisions that were made before us about what fruits and vegetables we wanted to grow in this country and what commodities, agricultural commodities, we wanted to invest in. So a lot of my role is communicating the kind of agriculture that we want to see for young beginner and farmers of color and the next generation that is more environmentally sound and driven. So that's what a lot of what I do, telling policymakers, decision makers, federal agencies, and state agencies to what are some of the policies that they should be advocating for, so young farmers and farmers of color have a future in agriculture, and we have more stronger, regional, resilient, local food systems everywhere we are. And like Rhode Island is a great place to do that. We are one of the top in the nation for what we call direct market sales, and it's because we have so many farmers markets. But at the same time, Rhode Island has many challenges, like our farmland is the most expensive in the country. And that's really sad being in Rhode Island. It's like, that's something you don't want to be number one in. But it's also a great opportunity to talk about these local issues that we see in Rhode Island and all across the country to our policymakers in DC about the things that farmers and young farmers need for a future in agriculture.
Wow, that's amazing. Um, I just keep thinking back about the story that you were telling me, like your passion and like what drove you to agriculture. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like, the Dominican Republic and the farmland. Like that's like my favorite thing to hear.
Awesome. Yeah, sure. So I was in fourth grade and I wrote a book about the environmental problems in the Dominican Republic, and I still have the book. And it was like a really large book for like a fourth grader. I was overachieving always. And then when I was in high school in Dominican Republic, I was getting really interested in environmental law, international climate law. And it was just, everyone was looking at me like crazy, like, you're nuts, like, we don't do that here. Like at that moment there was not even like an environmental law program in the Dominican Republic or any, it was like a little environmental education, so natural resource management, but there was nothing really comprehensive. So we migrated here to Rhode Island because we have family here, and I was in 11th grade and we went to a visit at URI. I was my first time visiting a URI, first time visiting a college in the United States, and the leading professor at URI and in the country for GIS mapping gave us a session on how to use GIS to determine natural resource questions about land use and zoning, something that is really important for cities and for natural resource management, about how much land we preserve for forest use, for agricultural use on. And I remember just being there, literally playing with this computer program. I thought it's a tool, but literally playing because we were told to do whatever we wanted, and being like, this is what I want to do. I want to be helping people make good decisions about the environment, how we use natural resources. And after that, I went to a rabbit hole and found this major, environmental natural resource economics. And I was like, yeah, this is what I like, because I love the environment, I love natural resources, but I also care about people and how people interact with their natural environment. And I feel like agriculture is a really sweet spot where we find that a lot of that merge. Like, you are still interacting with natural resources, but there's still a really deep human connection because you are producing goods for people. And it's a little symbiotic relationship going there. So that's how I felt really safe and sound that this was my path. And also I came from an agricultural family. My dad's still a farmer in the Dominican Republic. We still own land in the Dominican Republic. So it's still really important, a part of my identity, to be working in agriculture, maybe not as a farmer, but as a farm advocate.
Awesome. So, what advice would you like give students wanting to go into like the agriculture field? Obviously, one, agriculture is like so huge. So, like, what do you think would be like the best advice for them in terms of like getting different experiences in the field?
I would say like pick one part of the food system or the agriculture and food nexus and get really good at it. Like I am really passionate about like science funding for agriculture and I can tell you a little bit about it, but it's not my top priority. My number one thing that I'm really good at is communicating barriers for young farmers and farmers of color. Like that's what I've always been interested on. And this is something I continue to advocate for now as a full-time person in my job. So whatever it is that you are really passionate about, gotta get really good at a few topics that you're really good at. And obviously those can lead you to other those are transferable skills and you will have knowledge that can be replicated in other parts of agriculture, but like get good at really few things that you're good at instead of being knowing a little bit of everything, and definitely have practical experience, let that be in policy, in farming, working in a farm or working in a food centric farm centric nonprofit is also really helpful.
Awesome. In your previous experience, you worked for the USDA. Tell us a little bit more about that and like how was it? Oh my God, it's insane.
It was really fun. And what is really interesting about working for the government, I was like, you are what is called a career servant. So you are a public servant. You are like the job that I have was not a political appointment. So it doesn't matter if the administration changes or if there's something happen, you still have to do your job. It doesn't matter who the president is or who is in Congress. And sometimes that was hard because I was there during the Trump administration. So there were many times that we were calling and being told like, you need to stop working on this project because it's no longer an administration priority. And that was painful because we thought all the projects were important or were advancing stronger local food systems. So that was interesting. But I learned so much about how the federal government works. I learned so much about internal procedures, and I learned so much about what it means to be on the other end. Like now, I get to submit things to USDA that I was before reading, that I was in the other end receiving. So I can have all that insight being like, don't write things like that, or don't send things like that, or do it this way because that's the way they're thinking about it in the other side of the spectrum of USDA. And obviously now in this new role, I'm having a lot of interaction with USDA, like I'm having meetings with them almost daily for different things. So it's really good to have that experience. And also many of the people I used to work with, now I get to work also in this capacity. So it's a good opportunity for networking, getting to know the industry, but also is recognizing that people there like consider themselves public servants. They are doing their job. Doesn't matter who the president is, what administration is. They just want to support a lot of this great food and federal farm programs.
Awesome. Oh my God. That's so exciting. So, like, what type of things do you submit now for them? Like new policies that you want to see and change for, is it for Rhode Island or is it for Michigan?
For nationwide.
Nationwide. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. What,
Mhm.
can you share one of those or is it?
Yeah, so right now, we just submitted one for the coronavirus food assistance program. So you probably heard about this program. It was like the food bots program that's still going on, where many farmers and food organizations were partnering to make this food boxes for people in need, being distributed in food banks and community locations. And that program, obviously, it came out of nowhere. Literally was instituted in like 2 months after when the pandemic started. And we saw really high rates of food insecurity. But there were many things wrong with that program. A lot of the grants went from people who had never had any experience feeding people. Many farmers were not eligible to apply. And we actually just learned there was a lot of food waste that happened because there was no capacity to implement the program correctly. So we actually learned that a lot of the food farmers were distributing and taking to the boxes never made it to people. So a lot of food went to waste, and that's really bad. So we submitted a lot of comments about the things that had to be changed, and a lot of this is like, we need to make sure like more farmers can apply to this, like young and beginner farmers can apply to this, make sure like that the food that is inside those boxes is culturally appropriate. Like I don't want I don't know. I cannot think of like I don't want kale going to neighborhoods in South Providence. Yeah, there are probably many people in South Providence who love kale, but that's not culturally sensitive to the community that lives there. So we had to put a lot of comments like that and a lot of feedback for that. And that comment ended 2 weeks ago, and today we heard back that the program is actually being canceled, and it's going to be redesigned in a way that embraces the recommendations we put forward. And when I say we put forward, it's just not me. There was like 500 people submitting comments. So a lot of what happens in this work is always coalition work. We're always talking to each other about what are things are working, they're not working, so we can put pressure in the federal government to change things. And it's a lot of what I do is just attend to meetings and being like, we're gonna do this at this time, this way, you're gonna do that part, I'm gonna do this part, so we can be strategic about how we put in pressure points to make change.
How do you think that we, like in our own individual level, can make change or can, can impact? Like, what would you recommend us, the audience, to do to help changes like what you just mentioned?
Well, you have to do what works for you and what matches your values. If you really want to support young farmers of color, sign up for a CSA, a community supported agriculture budget subscription, where you will receive vegetables, because for young farmers they need CSA subscriptions because it helps them mitigate the risk that comes with opening a farm and a business. If you feel that's too much for you, maybe just learning about one or two things that are grown locally in Rhode Island or visiting one farmer's market. You need to start with what works for you. Don't try to do everything. Don't try to do it all. Don't try to do it all at the same time. Start somewhere and it will lead you down the road to all the things you want to be doing.
I want to add in on one of this because when we had that pre-conversation before, you had mentioned about kind of farmers market versus big stores.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've had this great marketing that has gone out about supporting local farmers. Like you said, Rhode Island has the most farmer markets for our square miles. And I think that's awesome. But you also had a really good comment that the big stores are a good thing too. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I don't shame people from shopping at normal stores. That's fine. You're still supporting farmers. You're just supporting a different kind of farmer. You're supporting a large farmer that has 400 acres who has a contract with Stop and Shop or the distributor. You're not supporting a young farmer that looks like me who is selling at the farmer's market and is literally renting their land and it's only a few acres. So it's all about you're still supporting agriculture by eating fruits and vegetables. Probably anything you eat, you're still supporting agriculture. It's just you're just supporting a different way. So if you want to start making the transition, it's just maybe adding a few things every now and there that like actually match your values and the kind of supporting the agricultural community you believe is working. Example, some supermarkets are trying to add at least more signage and do more contracts with local farmers, and they will display that on signs. Example, Dave's supermarket in Rhode Island is a great example for that. They try to do a lot of contracts with local farmers in Rhode Island, and they will put signs for that. But it's happening. It's happening also in your local restaurants. It's happening at universities. It's happening in many other places. So there are different ways that you can support both of them, or just support the ones that matches your values.
Thank you. Oh my God, Vanessa, I'm just so excited. I feel like I have like this question for you, and this is going to be like a loophole. So do you feel like in your field you have a good work-life balance for a sense, or do you like live and breathe like agriculture even when you're like at home?
I think right now in a moment of transition, April is traditionally really busy because we are sending out what we call budget requests. And I just got a promotion, so I'm actually trying to find a new balance on like I have all these new responsibilities, but I also want to shut my computer off and like go for a walk. And at the same time, I try to be like a really well-rounded person. Like I've tried that every other book that I read is now about agriculture, which is really hard, literally looking at the book sitting next to me. But I also try to have other hobbies and other things. Like I was telling you, like I really enjoy calligraphy and poetry and like sending mail. It's a weird hobby. But I don't know. You try to be a well-rounded person and don't let agriculture be just who you are or like all your identity is. Yeah, well, yeah, it's a huge part of me. So sometimes I had to like, I remember I was watching a movie about agriculture the other night. It was like a fun movie, but it was still about agriculture. And I literally like shutting my brain. Vanessa, don't overanalyze this. Vanessa, don't overthink it. Vanessa, just enjoy the movie. And sometimes you have to do things like that to like create a wall between the personal and the professional.
That's awesome.
It's a great
Uh,
movie. You should all watch it. It's called Minari. It won like a bunch of Oscar nominations.
um, hold up. So what do you have in terms of like where you're at now? Are you in DC or in Michigan? I keep forgetting where
I'm
you
in Rhode Island, actually.
You're in Rhode Island? Oh my God, you're back home.
Yes, I am.
What would you recommend us in terms of like farmers market, like around here? Like what's like your favorite farmers market?
I don't know. I don't have a favorite right now. So Farm Fresh Rhode Island has a new farmers market location in 10 Sim Street in Providence. And that's a cool location, but I also really enjoy the Hope Street Farmers Market. And I just went to the Newport Farmers Market last weekend. I don't have favorites. I just go to them.
With a hobby.
No, no favorites. I cannot discriminate against it.
And then I know we talked a lot, and I don't want to get us into a thing because I know we're on a time budget about like food security and like food hunger. What would be like resources that you would give anyone like around this area in terms of like food inequities?
Um, I love all the many great mutual aid and organizations that are taking care of our communities, making sure they're fed. But I think we need to be a little more angry and demand for structural change. So every time you hear someone going hungry or you see people lining up to receive food or anything related to hunger, I usually just tell your elected officials that hunger is unacceptable in your community. Tell them that we should be funding more hunger relief programs and poverty relief programs. So I try to always think about the structural changes that need to happen, not just also the community responses that we have that also need support.
So Vanessa, I just want to reflect a couple things back, and then I'm gonna lead our closing rapid fire questions. I think one of the first things is just what you were saying about reaching out to your officials. The stuff, what you do seems and feels really intimidating. Like it's hard to believe that we can make these big changes. And I love what you've been sharing about, from the beginning, really working inside URI to bring local food, then also the creation of farmers markets in your community. And right now, any of us can say hunger is unacceptable, and we can reach out to our congressmen. And that it puts the power back on us, especially also when you're talking about the flexibility of, if I'm buying produce, I'm supporting my farmer, whether I'm supporting a big farmer or a small farmer, local or national, like that. It's a good system to be supporting. It's just a matter of what works in my life right now.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I really that struck me was I did not realize that Rhode Island farmland is the most expensive in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So that was definitely a striking one for me. And then the last one that I'll just highlight was your comment about, when somebody's really trying to figure out how to grow in industry. So somebody else who's in agriculture to find that niche. And I think that comment of finding something and being really good at it, that goes across. I mean, we're talking about agriculture, but really I could be using this in any industry. All right. So you ready for the rapid fire ones?
Yes.
Cool. What is the first food you buy at the farmer's market?
Depends on the season. Right now, the Brussels sprouts are in season. In a few weeks, it's gonna be asparagus, and then it's gonna be strawberries. So it all depends on the season.
Show you are currently binging.
Nothing, because I'm waiting for the 4th season of The Handmaid's Tale.
What is on your nightstand?
Too many books that it's impossible for me to read, but I'm gonna tell you my top 3. Lessons from Plants by Veranda Montgomery, We Are Each Other's Harvest by Natalie Brazel, and the National Geographic Travel Almanac for 2021, because we're not going anywhere, so might as well travel in my desk.
Do you have any pets?
I wish. I have a lot of teddy bears who are fulfilling that emotional space right now.
Top charity you would donate to?
I believe in donating to the people who have invested in me before. So right now, especially in a position that I can donate money, I donate money to people who have invested in me in the past. So scholarships who I have received before, or programs that have sponsored me before.
Favorite dinner?
Mango. This is mashed plantains with fried cheese, fried salami, and fried eggs. It's a Dominican thing.
Last question. Since you have that book on your nightstand of travel, what place do you want to travel to?
Oh, it's really hard to choose. But I make a rule that every time I travel, I try to concentrate on like food and agriculture and botanical. So I usually try to go to eat at really good restaurants, visit a farm if I can, and always try to visit a botanical garden everywhere I go. So those are like my travel rules, so where I like to focus for travel.
That is awesome. Vanessa, thank you so much for your time. This has been a great insight into you, but also just so many fun facts too. Thank you.
Oh my God, we had so much fun. I just keep saying it. You're amazing. So thank you for coming and sharing your advice and your wealth with students, alumni. We're so proud of you here at URI. I know they're definitely super proud of you. And then I can just see it, girl. You're going to be like the head of like the USDA one day. Like I can see it. And I'm rooting for you.
Thank you. Let's see what happens. Yeah. I'm actually okay if we stop the recording now.